Today, we're talking about 5 health numbers that matter more than just your weight. So stop obsessing over the scale. Measure these 5 things instead. Now, we've all had this happen. You eat well, you exercise, and you even say no to that dessert. But then you step on the scale. Well, and it goes up. What do you do? Besides throwing the scale out the window, it doesn't mean you failed. It just means we need to measure things differently. So today, I'm going to show you 5 measurements that matter far more than just your body weight. And one of these is so important, I really want you to get it. But I'm also going to share with you 3 tools to help you start seeing results sooner with less effort. Now, one tool is going to measure your body. Another is going to measure your food. And the one that may surprise you, most important of all, is it measures your habits. Yes, so we're going to share that today. Hello and welcome. I'm Annette Reeder from thebiblicalnutritionist.com. And I love that so many of you have subscribed to our channel so that we can stay connected as the Biblical Nutritionist family. When you hit subscribe, it helps this ministry to share more about God's recipe for excellent health. Now, if you have accidentally unsubscribed, then just go ahead and hit subscribe again. That is a vote for us, and it truly helps us to produce the content that you desire. Now, let's go into these numbers. Now, first of all, let me start with this scale. This is not just another bathroom scale. It actually measures things that people aren't even thinking about. This is called the HumiPod, and it uses 8 different frequency sensors, and it's going to measure weight and your composition and even your heart health. So the sensors in the handle can scan your torso, your arms, your legs, even your heart with 98% accuracy without going to the doctor's office. And it can help you see trends and celebrate progress even before you ever knew it was happening. So let's look at measurement number 1. Measurement number 1 with this pod is about body fat percentage. This is much more important than just losing pounds. So you want to ask yourself, am I losing fat or am I losing muscle? These are 2 very different things, but we need to know both. Now, measurement number 2, now this is going to be my favorite. I don't want to simply get lighter, I want to be stronger. And so this is measuring your muscle. So muscle helps you age well. It supports your metabolism. It actually helps you carry the groceries. It is what helps you play with the kids and get off the floor and run and play and jump and play. We want to do that. We want to travel. Strength is part of healthy living, so measuring your muscle mass is very important. Measurement number 3, this is where we get to science, and you know I love science, is about visceral fat. This is the fat you can't see. So this is a fat that skinny people or overweight people have, but it's one of the most important numbers on the scale and one that most people haven't heard of. Remember, this is a visceral fat. Most of us are familiar with the fat that we can pinch around your waist or your hips or your thighs. That's subcutaneous fat, and it just kind of sits right beneath the skin. Visceral fat is different. It's the fat that's stored deep inside your abdomen, surrounding your liver and your pancreas and your intestines and many of your vital organs. Now, you can't necessarily see it in this. Like I said, skinny people or overweight people can still have visceral fat. In fact, someone, like I just said, can look fairly thin on the outside and carry too much visceral fat on the inside. And so that's why some people are surprised when they develop blood sugar problems and fatty liver or other metabolic concerns, even though they don't consider themselves overweight. How do we measure that? Why does this matter? Well, because visceral fat isn't just sitting there taking up space. It's actually very metabolically active. So think of it as a busy factory. It releases hormones and inflammatory chemicals into the body. And when we have too much visceral fat, these signals contribute to actually insulin resistance, higher blood sugar, increased inflammation, and a greater risk of heart disease and other metabolic conditions, which so many people are dealing with today. So this is one reason why 2 people can weigh exactly the same, yet one may be much healthier than the other. Measuring visceral fat. So instead of asking only, well, what do I weigh? I want you to think of the better question. What is happening inside my body? Now, here's the encouraging news. Visceral fat responds remarkably well to a healthy lifestyle changes. If you follow the 3 principles that I teach, it totally responds to that. You don't need a pill. You don't need a fad diet. Your body was designed to heal when we begin giving it what it needs, which is why the 3 principles are so timeless, proven, and true. So here are some of the most effective ways to reduce visceral fat. Number 1, eat the foods as close to God's design as possible, just like I've been teaching you. Ultra-processed foods, they don't belong in you. Have whole foods, vegetables, quality proteins, healthy fats, legumes, fruits, whole grains, yes, freshly milled. All of these is going to make our metabolism function better. Second, to build and preserve muscle. Muscle acts like a metabolic engine. The more healthy the muscle you maintain, the better your body is able to use glucose and support a healthy metabolism. And then number 3, as far as visceral fat goes, we need to increase our fiber. Fiber nourishes your gut microbiome, supports healthy blood sugar, helps you feel satisfied after meals, and is consistently associated with better metabolic health. Now, let me give you a 4th one. Move your body every day. Even if something as simple as 10 minutes after every meal is going to support healthy blood sugar and reduce metabolic burden on your body. So keep these in mind when you get on the scale and you realize, wow, that visceral fat's not where I want it to be, then you know the steps to correct it. No matter what your weight is, we still need to be paying attention to visceral fat. Visceral fat leads to major diseases, and we do not want to see you there. So this is one of the reasons why I love seeing visceral fat on the body composition scale. Not because we want to obsess over the number or get upset or worried or fearful. Never do we serve fear here. But because it reminds me that health isn't just about what I see in the mirror. It's about what's happening on the inside of the body that God's entrusted to us. So that's really why I want you to get these measurements and without having to go to the doctor. So if your visceral fat is higher than you'd like, don't get discouraged and don't let one number define you. Instead, just let it motivate you and start making the changes that you need to. Measurement number 4 that you get with this body scale is hydration. And I really appreciate seeing this because sometimes we aren't understanding, are we fully hydrated? Hydration affects your energy, your mental clarity, your exercise, your digestion, your skin. Even some of these other measurements are going to be affected by how well you're hydrated. So this is another reminder that good health isn't built on just one number. What is your total weight? We need to know these other numbers to see how healthy we actually are. Now, measurement number 5, which actually doesn't show up on this scale, is trends. So this may surprise you a little bit, but my favorite measurement isn't really about the number on the scale. It's about the trend that's happening in my health. So one day's reading, it's important, but it's not everything. When you start getting your results every day for 3 months, consistent readings, now that tells a totally different story. And this is where you can start to see changes happen over time. And that is what we need to remember. It takes time to change every cell. So that's tool number 1. Tool number 1 is the Humi Body Pod. And yeah, measuring all of those things without having to go to the doctor, that's going to save you money and copays. Tool number 2 is what I use in the Inner Circle in our Commit 25 program, is the food scale. If you ask me whether to buy a body composition scale or a food scale first, I'd say, well, do you want the food scale? Food scale changes the habits that eventually changes the numbers. In our Inner Circle, we're seeing amazing results with weight loss and, most importantly, lab results, all because of weighing our food and just becoming cognizant and aware of what we're eating and how much. In our program, we highly encourage that people eat 20 ounces of vegetables every day. Well, that's easier with a food scale. So the food scale has become just my main tool in the kitchen. Tool number 3 is our Hunger Satisfied Journal. Now, if I could only get one tool, I would start with this because this helps you understand the why. Why are you eating? How are you feeling after that meal? And to be quite honest, you can get a free download of this by going to free7steps.com. It's one of the 7 steps. So the Humi scale measures results. The journal creates the results. So we need both. So would I recommend the Humi Body Pod? Definitely. I would totally recommend this. It helps to shift our focus from simply measuring weight to becoming healthier. The more we see the numbers change by what we're eating and how we're behaving, It just helps with that confirmation that we're doing what's right. Body composition scale measures your progress. The food scale measures your portions. The hunger satisfied journal measures your habits. And healthy habits lead to lasting transformation. And that's what I'm here for. And as I always say, we eat the foods God called good, eat it as close to the way He designed it, and then don't let any food become an idol. So you get to choose, am I going to eat real food or lab experiment foods? That's your option. And so this food, these types of foods, onions, all of these real foods are going to be measured here, and see the results here. So remember, hunger satisfied journal, because your thoughts drive your habits. The food scale, your portions shape your habits. The body composition scale by Humi, because it identifies and confirms your progress. So if that interests you, I'll put links down below. But if you're going to get the Humi Body Pod, they've offered us, our coupon code is the word AMEN, A-M-E-N, and you get up to 50% off. You can actually even use your FSA money, so that's totally incredible. So don't forget, the coupon code is AMEN, A-M-E-N, and be sure and subscribe to our channel so we can stay connected as the Biblical Nutritionist family. And as I said, if you've accidentally unsubscribed, just hit subscribe again. And that gives us the confidence of knowing we're giving you God's recipe for excellent health. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the Biblical Nutritionist family. I am here to serve you God's recipe for excellent health. And I get to do that through many ways. One is through these videos on YouTube. Another way that you may not realize is we have what's known as the Inner Circle. And it's in the Biblical Nutrition Academy. And this is where we get to come together and we get to meet on Zoom. We have meetings 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times a week, where you can come and you can just sit at the table and drink your cup of tea and bring to the table what's on your heart and mind. Some of our meetings are about how to pray for God's answer and to expect God's answer. Those calls are amazing. And then we have calls for how to just take your kitchen and take it from being a burden to a blessing. And then the highlight of our coaching calls on how to transform your health. As your personal biblical nutritionist, I will be there on those calls to help you. You get to bring your questions and we get to work through it. And it's all in a group setting on Zoom. But there's another call that I want to invite you to, and that is our B3 Victory Calls. And this is where we get to identify what are those beliefs that are holding you back, and how can you push those aside, just take those captive, throw them out the door, and start seeing God work amazingly in your life. I invite you to check out the Inner Circle, thebiblicalnutritionist.com/inner circle, and learn about this. We only open it up 4 times in a year, and I don't want you to miss out on our next opening. If it's not open, it'll say join the wait list and we'll notify you first. We are limited seating, but yet we have a seat that I hope that you will take place and join us, because God has a victory waiting for you, and it's time to get rid of the lies, and it's time to see your health, to explore what your health can be like, and to get the victory mentally, physically, and importantly, spiritually. Welcome to the Biblical Nutritionist family.